quicker than anticipated today, which is good because I think there's always an appreciation for sincere speeches with short ones. Mary gave an order. Every year we reach out to seek a guest speaker, someone to talk about their experiences in life and their life in the service. We've had Army people, Navy people, Air Force people, but we've never had a Coast Guard. This year we do. And Christine Granja, who's going to talk to you next, has been a citizen of Southbury for quite some time. She's got a pretty interesting story. Not only did she go in the Coast Guard, but your son is. And that's one of the things I can't say about my family. When my kids were young, the boys used to play Army, and they used to look at my medals. And I told them, don't go in the Army, be a hero, but to seek medals. Because most of the guys that have mine aren't here anymore. Anyway, enough about me. Let me now, it's a distinct pleasure to introduce Christine Granja, who I think is going to have a pretty interesting talk. It's going to be fascinating to learn, I believe, for you, about her experiences in the Coast Guard. Christine.
Thank you, everybody. First Selectman Manville, elected officials, honored citizens, and guests. Every year during the month of May, we remember those who went to war and did not survive the great fight. Every year we are humbled by and grateful for their ultimate sacrifice, what Abraham Lincoln called the last full measure of devotion in the fight for our liberty. I am extremely honored to have been asked to be your guest speaker today at today's ceremony. In fact, when I was first asked, I wondered how credible a speaker I would be. Although Operation Desert Shield started while I was in boot camp, I have not experienced what war is really like. I did not lose a close loved one in the battlefield, but everyone here today, including myself, has been touched in some way by a fallen hero. Whether it's a story of a family member, a close friend, or someone you heard about on the evening news. Honor, respect, and devotion to duty are the Coast Guard's core values. I wonder how many people here today know that, or know much about the Coast Guard at all. The Coast Guard is the smallest branch of the armed forces, performing their global mission with about the same amount of personnel as the New York City Police Department. They serve a vital role in our nation's defense, falling under the Navy in a time of war and operating under the Department of Homeland Security during peacetime. Formed in 1790 as the Revenue Cutter Service, its mission was to serve as an armed customs enforcement agency. It merged with the U.S. Life Saving Service in 1915 to become the U.S. Coast Guard. Coast Guardsmen have served alongside Marines, sailors, soldiers, and airmen in every conflict and war since the War of 1812. Women have a long history in the Coast Guard. The first uniformed women to serve were inducted into the Women's Reserve in 1918. The Coast Guard realized early on, earlier than many of the other branches of the service, that since men were going to be serving alongside women on ships and at shore duty stations, mixed gender basic training was established in 1974. Women and men trained together at the Coast Guard Training Center in Cape May, New Jersey. In 1975, the first women were admitted to the Coast Guard Academy in New London, becoming the first military academy to open its doors to women. As a branch of the armed forces, The Coast Guard is equipped with a large fleet of over 23 classes of cutters, over 1,400 small boats, and 211 fixed and rotary winged aircraft. Its larger cutters have flight decks that are certified to land helicopters. The newest Sentinel class of cutters feature advanced communication, computer, intelligence, and reconnaissance equipment, can travel at a maximum speed of 28 knots, and have stern launch capabilities. They've become crucial to fighting the war on drugs, a growing challenge to the law enforcement mission. The Coast Guard has many challenging issues it's facing in the 21st century. With the limited resources that it has, it lacks the strength that it needs to fully accomplish its mission. It's a very diverse mission, which includes search and rescue, law enforcement, drug interdiction, environmental response, ICE operations, and air interdiction. 26 years ago, like many young people here today, I had a dream of changing the course of my life's path, wanting to experience more of the world and find my place in it. For me, the place that I felt that would best serve that vision was the U.S. Coast Guard. My dad, a U.S. Air Force veteran, had a huge influence on me and my decision to enlist in the Coast Guard a few years after I graduated from college. Growing up, spending our summers sailing on Long Island Sound, I can remember him telling me that he always wished he had joined the Coast Guard. So it was a natural choice for me. My entire family was completely supportive of my decision, although I think my mom had her reservations for the safety of her daughter. I entered boot camp on July 17, 1990. That August, Operation Desert Shield commenced, and although we didn't have much contact with the outside world, somehow word got to us recruits. We immediately thought we were going to be shipped overseas to the Persian Gulf right after graduating from boot camp. The scuttlebutt was that the Coast Guard was painting all her ships gray, and we were going to deploy with the Navy. That didn't happen though, luckily, but there were some units that did deploy during Operation Desert Storm. When I graduated, I was assigned to a 270-foot cutter, the cutter Northland, stationed in Portsmouth, Virginia. My first patrol lasted about 3 months. I remember being underway for Thanksgiving, my first holiday away from home in all 25 years of my life. It was very difficult adjusting to life on a floating home away from home and assimilating into the 95-member crew. But it was the most transformative part of my life in retrospect. One of our first rescue missions was taking on refugees found at sea who were fleeing the very unstable socio-political climate of Haiti at the time. Found crowded in the hulls of very unseaworthy wooden boats, men, women, and children were desperate to reach the shores of the U.S., 750 miles away. Without enough provisions to provide for themselves on the long journey, many would die of starvation, dehydration, or drown before making it to dry land. We had to halt their migration and return them to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. What I saw as we pulled into port completely shocked me and amazed me, as we had to lead those we rescued off of the ship and into the hands of the Haitian military authorities, waiting for them on the pier with M16 rifles. The extreme poverty and living conditions of Haiti were so deplorable, like nothing I had ever seen before. Instantly, my whole worldview was transformed as it came to my attention all at once what broken economic and political systems look like. I could not help but make a silent vow to myself. Someday, in some way, I would return there to make a small difference in the lives of the people. I could never forget them. Then, many, many years later, my church in Southbury entered into a long-term commitment to be in relationship, spiritually and financially, with a church in Grand Village, Haiti. I started to think about how I could get involved in making that relationship a reality. Out of that was born the idea to organize the Hoof It for Haiti 5K race that is held here each spring. Our mission is to provide the financial resources to tackle the problem of poverty in one small farming village by making a difference through education of the young people there, providing the teachers' salaries, and equipping the school with the needed textbooks, supplies, and a feeding program. I also have the distinct privilege of leading groups of young people and adults down to Haiti on immersion trips. I've returned to Haiti 7 times since that initial port of call in 1990. In looking back, I am so grateful to have had the experience of serving in the United States Coast Guard. I am extremely blessed and proud to say that also my son Matt is currently serving on active duty in the Coast Guard, stationed in Washington, D.C. Serving in the United States Coast Guard has shaped me and charted a course in a direction that I never would have taken had I not stepped outside of my comfort zone and sworn in that day in July so long ago. Although military life is not for everyone, I would encourage any young person here today considering a career in the military to pick a branch that is going to educate you and best lead you on a path to a place that is higher than you ever imagined aspiring to. With today's ever-changing world of technology, global thinking, and challenges to national security and defense, a military background will serve you well in going far in life. The Greek philosopher Thucydides once said, "The bravest are surely those who have the clearest vision of what is before them, glory and danger alike, and yet, notwithstanding, go out to meet it." I'd like to add to that great philosopher by stating the old Coast Guard motto, "You have to go out, but you don't have to come back." The honor, respect, and devotion to duty that all of our nation's heroes possess holds a level of awe and reverence in everyone gathered here today. It is with humble gratitude that we stand in the midst of those that are here in spirit only, as well as with the family and friends of those who are currently serving or who have served. As we go off to our gatherings with family and friends today, let us not forget that. Thank you.